The fall of Shedeur Sanders continues. Let's talk about why.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It is also brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $250 in bonus bets. Win your first $5 bet wins. Obviously, like I said, Locked On Podcast Network as well. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. The title says it all. Shedeur Sanders continues to fall in the NFL draft. Now, we're going to attack this from a whole different view, different angles. We're going to address sort of what happened, and we're going to talk about what I'm hearing, because obviously this is not how I expected it to go. I don't think anyone's taking it worse than Mel Kiper. I think we could say that, but realistically, let's just walk through the day, I guess. So the second round rolls around, and there was three teams that I thought had a legitimate shot at drafting Shedeur Sanders. It was the Browns, who had two of the first four picks in the second round, the Saints, and then the Raiders, who I believe traded back. The Browns went Carson Schweissinger, linebacker from UCLA. They then went Quinshon Judkins, running back. The Saints, they went with Tyler Shough. Now, I'm someone who's covered the Pac-12, former Pac-12, very closely. He was at Oregon. Me and Tyler Shough are the same age. I'm 25. And so Tyler Shough is definitely one of the older quarterbacks to be drafted. I saw a graphic today that he is older. He's around the same age or older than Trevor Lawrence, Brock Purdy, I think Justin Fields, and a few other quarterbacks. So he's definitely on the older side. He's more athletic, bigger arm than Shedeur. So, and he was picking up a lot of steam towards the end of the pre-draft process. That being said, he goes before Shedeur, and it's like, okay, surely there's still another option. Surely there's still another spot, right? Wrong. The whole second draft goes through the Raiders, who ended up trading and getting Jack Beck, the wide receiver. They don't go quarterback. And then the Steelers didn't have a pick. I believe they traded out of it. So third round rolls around, and it's like, okay, now for sure Shedeur Sanders is going to go. It's his time, right? The Browns pass on him again. The Raiders pass on him again. The Giants, obviously, they didn't need a quarterback. The Giants passed on him again. And just it goes on and on and on. And then this is where it starts to get, I think, in my opinion, a little crazy. Jalen Milroe gets drafted before him. Now, Jalen Milroe, freak athlete, huge arm, probably the biggest arm in the draft. So it's like, okay, there's that. His fall continues, but it's like Jalen Milroe is one of those guys. He was like a borderline first round pick, and it's like, okay, I guess I could see it. But hey, so we move on. And then this is where I don't say I draw the line, because Dillon Gabriel was a really good college quarterback, one of the most successful ever. I think he broke the record for touchdowns or something. It was him or Cam Ward. They had a whole touchdown record thing. Dillon Gabriel, the Browns pass on Shedeur again, as do the Saints. But the Browns take Dillon Gabriel. So now you're looking at these quarterbacks, right? And it's like Shedeur at best in this class is viewed as quarterback 5, QB5, right? Or excuse me, QB6, because Ward is gone, Dart has gone, Shough has gone, Milroe has gone, and then Gabriel is gone. And then to make matters worse, and this part I think is truly disgusting, Shedeur Sanders gets a fake phone call. Someone's like, hey, we're going to draft you, blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, no, just kidding, you have to wait. Disgusting, really. Hated to see that for him. So let's talk about why he's falling, right? And I think this is going to be the uncomfortable conversations part, right? I've been told by multiple people. I've been reaching out. I've been asking people who work in the NFL draft space, and I'm like, okay, what's the deal, right? He's a projected first-round pick. At one point, he was the favorite to be the number one pick. And I'll read you what Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports wrote on X. Then I'll sort of piggyback on that from what I was told. Shedeur Sanders falling to QB6 at best and into the last day of the draft seems to me to be the league repudiating how he and those around him handled the draft process. And it's like, okay, kind of makes sense, right? when you think about it, and I asked people around the draft, because I know a few people that are, whether it be scouting personnel for certain companies or draft insiders, and it's quite clear that there's a couple of things that are holding Shedeur back right now. For one, like Jonathan said, his pre-draft process was very unorthodox, and not a lot of teams liked it, right? I'm not going to say that I'm going to agree with the rumors where people were calling him confident and brash and all that, but there were definitely people rubbed the wrong way about his effort in the meetings. That's the truth. I think people wanted him to be more. They didn't want him to be himself, which I'm never going to tell someone to not be themselves. But clearly, the NFL teams were turned off by his confidence or his attitude. And I think there's also, and people keep denying this, but I think part of the problem, or part of the reason he hasn't gone yet, is the Deion Sanders effect, right? I think there's a little bit of a wariness where it's like, if we draft him, how involved is his dad? If we draft him and we don't do what he wants, does his dad tweet about us? Does his dad start causing drama or try to turn our fan base against us? And then you have to look at, which I think this is the hard part about this. I think there's a lot more factors that are going into him being undrafted than what there should be. If you told me like, hey, Shedeur Sanders just simply isn't mobile enough, doesn't have a strong enough arm, and teams are turned off by that, I'd be like, okay. But I think there's more to it, and I think it's the extra baggage that's really factoring into this. So it's one of those things where you have to just, I guess, take your lumps if you're Shedeur Sanders, right? I think you can always this would be a learning moment, and I'll talk about what my message to him would be later in the show. But yeah, just to go back to what I think is happening here, I think NFL teams are sort of sending a message like, hey, you disrespected us in the pre-draft process, right? And it's also, let's keep this in mind. He goes to the East-West Shrine game and doesn't participate. He didn't participate in the Big 12 Pro Day. Goes to the NFL Scouting Combine, and could have been, with Cam Ward not participating, could have been a prime opportunity for him to really show off his talents. He chose not to throw. Then he throws the Colorado Pro Day. Obviously, he showed out, and I think there's a lot of like, he did what he needed to do, but I think at the same time, they were at a pro day like that. It's obviously controlled by the team, controlled by the prospect. So they did what he wanted to do, and so maybe teams just got a little scared of him. They got a little scared of everything that comes around him, and so now it's kind of like, hey, we don't want to take that risk. And now this is the hard part about drafting Shedeur Sanders, right? We are heading into the 4th round of the NFL draft. And at this point, whoever drafts Shedeur Sanders, you are drafting him as a backup or a project, right? You are not drafting Shedeur Sanders in the 4th round with the intention of making him the starter right away. Now, I'm not saying, and don't get all mad, I'm not saying he can't start. I think Shedeur Sanders is still a very capable passer. I think he has a lot of intangibles, whether it's his accuracy, his IQ, his leadership, his toughness, that can help him be a really good NFL quarterback. That being said, whatever team drafts Shedeur Sanders is doing so knowing like, hey, we have another quarterback who's going to start over you, right? You're going to have a chance to be a backup. You're going to have a chance to fight for the starting job, but you are not promised the starting role. And I think that's going to be a tough reality because honestly, and this is me like talking from, I guess, my heart, I thought Shedeur Sanders was going to be drafted. I thought there was a chance where he sits for a year, possibly starts in year 1. And now I don't know what the possibilities are, right? I think now everything's turned on its head where it's like, okay, it's a little bit more complex. It's a little bit more complicated because, again, you fall out of the first 3 rounds and the rumors are getting louder that people are sending a message to how you handled the pre-draft process. And now it's like, okay, an NFL team who drafts you may not hold you as highly as they would have if they drafted you in the first round, which, I mean, not a shocking take. A couple of questions that I'm seeing in the comments: is the 4th round tomorrow? Yes, the 4th round is tomorrow, Saturday. The Titans are on the clock first. Draft order kind of resets. I'm going to talk about possible landing spots on the next segment, but just to wrap up and just sort of cover all that we've talked about. Shedeur Sanders is falling. I personally am shocked. Realistically, I did not think he would make it out of the first round. I thought at worst he'd be a high second round pick. And I think there's a lot of exterior factors. And to go over those exterior factors again, his pre-draft process, not participating in any, like, the interviews, I'm saying the pre-draft process there, not participating in any interviews, or not interviews, excuse me. He did the interviews, not participating in any of the drills at the combine, not interviewing to the best of his ability, possibly. And I also think that Deion Sanders' effect is a possibility that is happening here, or is something that is a factor here. I think a lot of people, teams around the league, are shying away from drafting a quarterback that they think will bring drama or they think will bring luggage. Now, that's not me saying, like, hey, Deion Sanders is going to bring baggage, but I think that's what these NFL teams are afraid of. So it's a tough reality. I think it's going to be really interesting to see where he falls, and really interesting to see what happens to him, honestly, because this is, I think Mel Kiper said it best. This is disgusting, right? I wasn't expecting this by any means. I thought, like I said, I projected him, and I think this was my final draft projection. My lowest pick for him was 9 to the Saints. And now it's like, okay, he's no like I just thought he was a first round lock. I did. So this is not something I saw in the realm of possibilities. So we will find out tomorrow. When we come back, I'm going to be talking about my top 4 landing spots for Shedeur Sanders. So that way we can sort of look out for certain teams tomorrow. So that way, I guess we could just know, or we could flirt with the idea of where he'll end up landing. But first, a quick break. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your pair controller, subscribe, or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops. As easily as you stream your favorite shows, it's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. They have endless entertainment with 4K streaming, more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime, Disney Plus, Max, and more. So head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. Appreciate you guys for liking, subscribing, following. It's been quite the journey so far. We're talking Shedeur Sanders, the draft, right? If you missed it, if you're just tuning in, I talked about what I'm being told and why he's falling, right? People are thinking that the NFL is sending a message to him and his camp. A lot of people are probably also rubbed the wrong way that he did not partake in the pre-draft process. And then I think the part that no one says out loud is the Deion Sanders effect, right? I think people are scared of Deion Sanders' possible role within the team. So, or possible role within Shedeur's career, if you will. So let's dive in. This is the order for the 4th round, which starts tomorrow. It starts tomorrow, Saturday, April 26th, 12 p.m. Eastern. So for those of you asking the time, 12 p.m. Eastern, 4th round. This is how it starts. The Titans, the Jags, the Giants, the Patriots, the Jags, the Raiders, the Bears, and the Jets, the Eagles, and the Saints. That's the first 10 picks. Now, here are the teams who took a quarterback. And this is important to remember because these teams are, I think, out of the picture. Obviously, the Titans don't need a quarterback. They took Cam Ward. The Giants don't need a quarterback. They have a full quarterback room. They have Jackson Dart as well. Tyler Shuck to the Saints, Jalen Milroe to the Seahawks, and Dylan Gabriel to the Browns. So realistically, we're looking for a team that needs a backup, or we're looking for a team with a clear question mark at quarterback. So automatically, the first 10 picks are out. They're just done. It's gone. It's not going to happen unless they trade up, obviously. The 10 picks as they currently stand are out. So then you start looking through and it's like, okay, where else could he go? Teams that I think could be I'm going to give you 4 teams that I think could be in the mix here. The Colts. I don't know if it's going to be the 4th round, right? It's 4 through 7, rounds 4 through 7 tomorrow. I don't know where he's going to end up. That's just the reality of it. The Colts have Daniel Jones. They have Anthony Richardson. Both of those guys are pretty much on their last leg of their career in the sense of this is their last chance to be a starter, right? You put Shedeur into the mix, you see what happens, you let him compete, you let him learn from them, and possibly there's a fit there. The Colts are a possibility. You keep going. The Steelers are the one team where they still make a lot of sense to me. They don't have a quarterback. I don't think at all. Their quarterback situation is really confusing. They are kind of in the mix for Aaron Rodgers, but we don't even know if Aaron Rodgers wants to play football anymore. So their quarterbacks on the roster currently are Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson. I think Mike Tomlin would be a great mentor for Shedeur, and obviously pillar of success in the NFL, one of the best coaches to ever do it. I think the Steelers have a legitimate chance at drafting Shedeur Sanders. Then I'm starting to look for teams who have veteran quarterbacks who can mentor him. And there's 2 more teams that stand out to me. The Los Angeles Rams and the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, both of them don't need a quarterback, right? The Raiders just signed Geno Smith to a extension, or they just made a move from it and signed him to an extension, right? Pete Carroll is up there in age. I doubt he wants a developmental quarterback, and that's why they made a move for Geno. And then the Rams are trying to contend for a Super Bowl, right? They've been making moves that show they are trying to contend. They signed or they made a move for Devontae Adams, right? They've traded a lot of draft capital to make moves. So those are the 4 teams that make sense to me, right? And I'll go over them again just because I think our mindset on Shedeur went from which team can he start for to now which team needs a quarterback or which team has a possible fit for him, I guess you could say, right? So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, this is truly shocking to me. Like I said, not how I expected it to go. I'll run through the teams again. The Rams, like I said, you learn from a Super Bowl winning quarterback in Matthew Stafford. You have an offensive minded genius in Sean McVay who could help teach you. You have weapons like Puka Nacua, Jordan Whittington. Don't know how long Devontae Adams has, but he's a possibility. The Colts, weird quarterback situation with Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones, but maybe they want to take a young quarterback to throw into the mix there. The Steelers, they don't have a quarterback at all, so that gets a little confusing. It's like, okay, what are they going to do here? And then the Raiders, right? The Raiders have a veteran quarterback in Geno Smith. They are also trying to contend. Shedeur also has a connection with Max Crosby. He has a connection with Tom Brady, who is a part owner of the Raiders. And so those are the 4 teams that make sense to me. You have the Raiders, the Rams, the Steelers, the Colts. If it's not one of those teams, like maybe the 49ers as a backup, right? The Seahawks they have Milroe now. So it's the Ravens as a backup, right? I feel like you're really just looking at which team needs a high quality backup. Maybe the Chiefs, right? Maybe he learns from Patrick Mahomes. I don't know. It's one of those things where I am on the shocked meter. I am 10 out of 10 shocked. I am flabbergasted. I am bewildered because I did not see this happening at all. So that's my take on which teams could possibly draft Shedeur. That being said, this is what I would tell to Shedeur Sanders if I were in his corner, right? Because I think this is going to be a very humbling experience. I think this is a very disappointing experience for him, but doesn't mean it has to be. We're going to take a quick break, though. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action right now. When you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props. So don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. I just went over why Shedeur Sanders is falling. I went over which 4 teams I think are possible fits for him. And now I'm going to talk to, this is me talking to Shedeur if he was like, hey, Kevin, I know, you have no NFL experience. You've never been drafted, which never mind. You've never been drafted before. You've never been in a position to be drafted. But what would your advice to be? And my advice to Shedeur Sanders would be, hey, there's been a lot of players who have had similar trajectories where it's like, I expected a lot from this guy and it didn't happen. There's been a lot of players who were overlooked in the draft, who were undervalued. They didn't have the athleticism. They didn't have the arm. They weren't smart enough. They weren't tough enough, whatever it is, right? You can name 1,000 reasons for every quarterback. And there's just so many reasons as to why a player falls in the draft or maybe doesn't get drafted at all. If I'm Shadore, I'm telling you, or I'm telling him, if I'm giving Shadore advice, let this fuel you. Let this be a part of your journey. Let this be a motivating factor that you never forget and that you make other teams never forget, right? I think it's always interesting when people just expect these guys to move on like robots. I'm not going to pretend like I know Shadore personally and know how he's feeling, but I imagine he's a little hurt, right? I imagine this is not a great feeling, right? And I think this same thing for his father, right? I think the reason Coach Prime did not let Shadore declare last year was he wanted him to have a chance to be the top quarterback. And I thought he had a chance to be the top quarterback. You have to really understand that they are humans at the end of the day. I imagine this is disappointing. I imagine this hurts. That being said, you have to use this as full fuel and make yourself forget, throw it in the faces of other teams, be like, yeah, you didn't draft me and now I'm going to beat you in the playoffs every single year, right? There's been so many good quarterbacks who are overlooked. Dak Prescott was a late round pick. Tom Brady obviously is the epitome of like that guy was overlooked. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, right? So there are so many examples of guys who did not take a traditional, like he was the first pick overall and was a star right away. But I still think that Shedeur Sanders can be a star. It wasn't a straight path. It was never going to be a straight path for anyone, but it's especially not a straight path now. And I think it's hard for him and for fans and everyone around him to see it happen like this. I think there's a lot of factors where it's like, I don't know if it's entirely his fault. That being said, you have to use it as fuel, because if you let it eat you up, it can really derail your career, and it can really hurt you. And I don't want that for Shedeur. I want Shedeur to succeed. And so I think he really needs to channel this feeling and turn it into something positive. Easier said than done. But again, I think that's the best way to go about this. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. If you're new to the show, hit that subscribe button so I can keep my job. And that way we continue to have some fun as the draft goes on. We'll continue to cover all things Colorado, all things Shedeur, and everything else, because they have a lot of good draft eligible players. So appreciate you guys. Hope all of you have a great rest of your night. Stay safe, and everyone have a blessed Friday.